Nancy Pelosi's scheme against Donald Trump has just been laid bare. How's that? Last week, during testimony under questioning by Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, Kash Patel made certain revelations about January 6th that totally counter the narrative the Democrats have been singing for 4 years. And it places the responsibility for the, quote, invasion of the Capitol squarely at the feet of three people: Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C. What's this testimony?
But you will be and have been accused of just about everything they can. But I want to focus on what several Democrats have done recently, which is trying to blame you for the violence that occurred on January 6th, which even in the annals of ridiculous attacks, this one really takes the cake. So let's just focus on some facts. Let me ask you a question. What role did you occupy in the days immediately before January 6th?
Chief of Staff of the Department of Defense.
You were the Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense.
Yes, sir.
So to be clear, you were not rioting at the Capitol.
No, sir.
Okay. Where were you physically on January 6th?
In the office of the Secretary of Defense in the Pentagon.
And what were you doing on that day?
On that day specifically, responding to preparing to mobilize and deploy the National Guard once we got the lawful request from the local governing authority, which was the mayor of D.C. and the Speaker of the House.
Now, how many days in advance were you working to prepare the Department of Defense to help secure the Capitol on January 6th?
Days in advance, Senator. We were in the Oval Office on an unrelated national security matter with the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and myself. And the President authorized up to 20,000 plus National Guardsmen and women to secure any security measures necessary related to the Capitol. So we were moving to the fullest extent of the law before the requisite request came from a local governing authority days ahead of time.
And while you were Chief of Staff at DOD, how many times did DOD approach Capitol Police and ask if they needed National Guard assistance?
I believe those letters are well documented, numerous instances, and numerous of those instances, those requests were shut down.
Now, am I correct that the Capitol Sergeant at Arms said assistance was unnecessary?
That's correct, Senator.
Who did the Sergeant at Arms report to?
The Speaker of the House.
That would have been Nancy Pelosi at the time. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
And would that also be Chuck Schumer, then the Senate Majority Leader?
The Sergeant at Arms, yes, Senator, reports up there.
Did Mayor Bowser, the Democrat elected mayor in D.C., either request or allow National Guard assistance?
She put in writing on the days leading up to January 6th a declination for National Guard additional support. And that letter is available publicly to the world.
So, just to speak English for folks at home, a declination meant she said no, don't send National Guard. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you must be asking, what's the purpose of Pelosi's scheme that she's carrying out? Well, she intended, quite frankly, to create an insurrection. How do I know this? Well, her daughter, during the midst of the January 6th, quote, insurrection, called it a non-insurrection and the worst that anybody could ever imagine. Watch.
If there was an insurrection, you were supposed to be in line, marching. You were in the military, you know
right.
this.
No, that's
you were supposed to have a plan.
Exactly. It's called Operation Soldier. You sit down overnight with your soldiers. You go over. All right, you're gonna go here. You're gonna go in by this side. At this time, we're gonna take over this. There's none of that.
If it was an insurrection, it's the sorriest insurrection in the 20th, 21st century ever. No guns. No plan. People taking selfies.
A guy smoking pot.
I love the guy.
Yeah,
you're going to be able to laugh about this one day.
So, no guns, taking pictures, smoking pot. Doesn't amount to a insurrection, does it? But then we have the creation of the Kangaroo Court January 6th committee, whose sole purpose was to paint Donald Trump as an insurrectionist. Why is that? Well, under the third clause of the 14th Amendment, someone who has been convicted of insurrection can't hold office. And they were going to use that January 6th committee BS report to try to keep Trump off the ballot because they saw the Trump train coming. What happened? Well, let me tell you what happened. The Supreme Court stepped in and said, no, you're not going to do this nonsense. It's not going to happen. Missouri tried to, if you recall, tried to keep Trump off the ballot. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, no, you're going to put him on the ballot. He's duly qualified. He's not been convicted of any insurrection, and he will not be denied his spot on the ballot. So this first test state stopped a bunch of other states from trying to do the same thing. You see, Pelosi and Schumer knew that Biden was a joke and that Harris was even worse. And they also knew that Trump was coming and coming hard. And he was also right about January 6th. Pelosi admitted it. Watch.
Newly released, never-before-seen footage from January 6th appears to give more context to the security breakdown.
We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have.
The House GOP obtaining the video of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi speaking with her chief of staff as she evacuated the Capitol that day. Pelosi heard blaming herself for not having the National Guard on hand to stop the mob.
Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
The video shot by Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, for an HBO documentary. Pelosi telling MSNBC the video is Republicans' attempt to rewrite history.
The former president and his toadies do not want to face the facts. They're trying to do revisionist history on January 6th.
So Pelosi knows, but she wants to blame the GOP. Oh, this is something the Republicans dug up and they're trying to make something out of it that it's not. Well, in fact, it is. And it's all come together now, and the plot has been uncovered, and she and Schumer and her cohorts should be held accountable. Now, why in the world would they do this? Why would they turn down up to 20,000 National Guard soldiers to protect the Capitol on January 6th? Because that's the only way they could make their scheme work. They're not stupid. They're evil, in my opinion, but they're not stupid. And so in order to make their scheme work, they had to reduce the force protecting the Capitol so that when these folks came in droves to invade the Capitol, they would have their, quote, insurrection to build around and keep Donald Trump off the ballot. What an evil, nasty group of people. And we should remember this and recall this and stay on course supporting our conservatives against this kind of government, just basically abuse. Hey, let me know what you think in the comments.